Now they need to kill you off. That's what their politics are. That's the truth. And again, you're speaking from both from the spirit plane and from the civic organizational structure plane of jurisprudence that I do not consent. And that, again, is the judicial notice. You're not looking for a reply. You're not requesting anything. You're making a declarative statement. That's what you're doing.
I know some people are very concerned, particularly, I think, if they're closer to what we would call that retirement age, that they, a lot of things are probably.
They should be concerned.
Right. Yeah. So there are a lot of people concerned with, I've been paying, people say my Social Security or whatever.
See, that is really problematic. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah. My Social Security and whatever. The younger generation, it's almost a foregone conclusion that there's not going to be a Social Security system, at least not as we know it, for them. They kind of know that they are being used. They're being like, they got bigger straws in their necks than they do for the rest of us. Mm-hmm. So, but the people that are like just about there, they're like, okay, I hear this stuff about nationality and birthright, but I don't want to lose what it is that I have.
I don't want to lose.
They may have a 401k. What is your advice?
This is my advice. This is my advice.
Okay.
And this is really the truth.
That's what we want.
This is the truth.
The whole truth, nothing but.
Their imagination is like that picture I've been looking at, beautiful picture. It says imagination. That they ever had faith in it was in their imagination. That they have faith in it at all now. And they're worried about it, which they should be. What they should be worried about is this. Remember what we said quite a few years, in these last few years, everybody, whatever God, version of God that they have, they need to call them?
Yes.
This is the grand opportunity for all who've been making God claims on what level, that's not a criticism, to go ahead and make your contacts now ahead of time, as the chaos comes, because the fire is burning all over the daggone place, because you're going to need them, because it's sort of like it is, like the wishful thinking people start talking about retirement, when the deal of it is, it's dead. But it was dead from design. They're in denial. It's still this psychology that they're in denial that it was part of the plan from the beginning. They just keep thinking that these people are their government, their mother, not their occupier. Their benefactor, not their parasite. Their fellow citizen, not a colonist, and their descendants who have sucked your energy and the carcass, and you're sensing that they're getting ready to drop the carcass from the web, and you're saying, I'm worried about whether they're going to drop the. Do you not recognize that you're a carcass already? How many of you, as an example, ever examined the Federal Reserve note and noticed that in the corners of the dollar bill, you see a web as part of the graphic design? Do you know why it's a web?
Why?
It's two things: Black Widow spider, and two, what a web represents. You were caught. You were played. All accounts that are in a name that sounds like yours is not yours, never was. All so-called retirement plans that ever existed for one purpose, and that is to promote blind faith in a dead system that was dead from its inception. And what they have been doing, how all of the systems have operated, they've operated from this perspective. Rob someone else. This is why they have armies, or what you call bases, in 189 countries. They've been robbing people around the world, going to and fro the earth, devouring nations, stealing their resources, and then buying faith from people who would support them and help them in these wars. And then you have what was inevitable and what is the fact, and that's called an operation of musical chairs. And the musical chairs has accelerated in this day and time, and that's what people are feeling. And so everyone's saying, but I'm going to lose my retirement if I declare my nationality and stuff. And the real deal of it is, it's already lost. The real deal is they don't know what to think. See, because all of the things that they built their faith in have already failed them. And people are in a state of denial and also in a state of inquisitiveness of where do we go from here? And what they're asking is, what do you suggest I do now? What I've been suggesting you do for the last 25, 30 years, prepare yourselves for this stuff. And if you hadn't done anything, what are you asking me for? Because every man, every woman, every child must confess their own. We've been asking you to confess your own. Those proclamation papers are a confession of your own. Did you know that? Any reversion of a state is a confession of your own. Any waiver of confession of your own is an abandonment of your own. Did you know that? If you didn't, now you do. Because we've been telling you forever and forever. So it's sort of like when you tell people to use the energy that's given to them divinely, to use their divine reasoning, and they choose not to because they're busy at the bar, or they're busy believing, or they're busy marching and praying, and then a storm comes and they say, what do you suggest we do with the storms blowing on the roof? The storm is blowing on the roof. Well, it blew out the back windows. What do you suggest to stop the wind? We accept that you find the lowest position that you can, maybe in the basement, and go there because the storm is on. Information is given to people to act on, but it is up to them to act on it or not to. It's called free will, isn't it? It's called choice, isn't it? If you give people reference and you give them support information and suggest to them, because you can't tell people what to do, suggest to them to take certain positions and they choose to not take such positions because they don't believe in those positions or they don't have faith in those positions. They have faith in the occupiers because the occupiers started some program, told them they're going to give them a sandwich. And then they open up the lunchbox that they've been carrying half their life that's really making their arms tired and everything. And then they open up the box and they notice there's nothing in there. And they say, what do you suggest that we do with this empty box? Why are you asking me? It's your box. You accepted it. In other words, it's like people keep wanting to make pacts with Romans, and then keep acting like the Romans have no track record of never being honorable, that they have a track record of never honoring law, that they even say in their own dissertations, one way or another, that they are the lawless ones. So when you're talking law and justice, they are in opposition. They keep showing it over and over again. When you're talking about justice, they've been showing you over and over again, they are opposed to justice. When you talk about fairness, they show you over and over again, they're opposed to fairness. When you talk about humane operations and executions, they show you over and over again they are in opposition. How many generations are you going to voluntarily sacrifice to them when they've showed you who they are? They've done everything but tell you bluntly, look, we're kicking your ass. Some of them now tell you, duh. Yeah, we're devils. What else you want to know? Yeah, we don't observe law. What else you want to know? What you going to do about it? That's what they're saying. So they're saying sort of like that the hybrid European said in Newark a couple years ago. Our people are always talking about White people don't like them, and they don't like black people. And that hybrid European said, you need to talk about your gods that clearly don't like you, that you're paying for generations that never rescued you and walked away. And nothing more bluntly truth could be said. You know, and a few of the people were calling them racist.
Here's a question. Is the QAnon movement just trying to co-opt our awakening?
It's two things. As we said years ago, a lot of the hybrid Europeans are telling the truth because they've lost their authority over the estate that they stole from us. In other words, they've been thrown under the bus. So you'll find that most of the people that call QAnon are actually middle class. And some of people who are on the lower levels of what they would call the made man platform of the elite. But for the most part, are middle-class Europeans that are telling the truth because they've lost their estate. They didn't expect to get thrown under the bus.
But they're not doing it to restore our lost estate.
No, because they tell you the truth, all of it.
Yeah, they're not doing it.
They tell you the truth. As an example, for those of you who also have points of reference, and we won't get into this because it's not the subject matter, that when Pope Francis did the motu proprio in 2013, and also when he wrote that civil orders letter direct to Barack H. Obama, and literally told the people, the politics. You know, how many people even gravitated to analyze that and even share with their family members? So they can't even say that they weren't told. But was that us telling us? No. Pope was backing up what we've been telling people for 40 years.
Although a lot of those things,
and they're gonna make excuses, and they start that kind of stuff.
No, I'm saying that a lot of those things, though Barack Obama was told these things in that letter, a lot of those things still have not collapsed. A lot of those, it's seemingly
they did not. Now, what did he say? Even now, this goes back to the motu proprio. So the motu proprio.
This is what you wanted to hear.
so the motu proprio, where the Pope said that they collectively were ceasing doctrine of discovery policy operations now, which is one of the political tools that's been operating on planet Midgard. He said it. That's with the motu proprio 2013. So all Asiatics who pretended they didn't understand what Noble Drew Ali was talking about, or like he was talking about some religious belief type thing, when he was actually talking about the theft of your estate, etc., and the issue of restoration of estate, and they keep pretending that this needs a bunch of analysis. Doesn't need analysis. It needs honest people to look at things for what they really are. So what did Pope Francis do? So when you're talking about the letter civil orders to Barack H. Obama, what he's talking about is them breaching their obligations to even the Roman Curial Order. Which means what? They got so used to their criminality, they telling them, no, we ain't stopping. So now in between time, you had what? As an example, and it's not the only example, it's only what's made public. BRICS, what you know as BRICS.
Right.
Got together, and although individually...
Brexit, you mean Brexit?
Brexit, no, BRICS.
Oh,
that's,
okay.
That's Brazil.
Oh, Brazil.
Russia, India, China, Korea, etc., got together, and this is again with the reestablishment of the Silk Road. Before colonial operations, you need to know timelines. Before the Napoleonic Wars, etc., and before the hybrids took over the trade routes of the Moors, etc., that they were reestablishing that. And then since then, you've been seeing Britain, the hybrid British, and the U.S. corporation operatives attacking China on every angle, knowing that that's really what's taking place. Why? Because if they don't buy the treasury bonds, they can't keep up the farce. And while our people here have been intimidated, pretending that they don't serve nobody but Jesus, God, Allah, and Yahweh, the real deal is they have been exposed because that's who they fear. And even when you can give them facts, what do you get? What is the average response that you get, Dr. Nayola? Let's be honest. Statements of fear, what's going to happen to them. They're not going to give me my retirement. They're going to fire me if I tell the truth. Just like you see some celebrities, as soon as they start telling the truth, they'll shut them down, fire them off TV, fire them off cable and everything else for telling the truth. And it happened to quite a few people, and it's becoming, but the issue is that they're pulling off their mask, meaning that they ain't faking it. They ain't trying to do the programs. They're just coming out and abusing the people. And what you going to do about it? Now, what they're really telling you is prove you God. It's sort of like what they told Prince when he was trying to get control of his music. Oh, so now you're starting to study contract law. Oh, and you got on TV and told the people that George Washington was the 9th president. Who you been talking to? So he knew that Prince was awakened, right? And they know his position. He's going to start influencing people. They say, well, let's look at this like this. You can't make no more records even using your name, Prince, because we got contracts on it. And if you haven't been studying contract law, tough cookies, dare you to use it. And then as soon as he got control, all of a sudden he had a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Oh, same thing. Oh, Whitney started getting control of her music. She drowns. Then after all the hoopla, the misrepresentation, and the inheritances were being, hypothecated, and her daughter started figuring it out, and she started doing a little bit investigation. So they drowned her in the tub too, and then got rid of her boyfriend, said that he did it,
and then
got rid of him.
Got rid of him.
These are all messages. Now, Sam Cooke, right?
Yeah, he was.
As soon as he started getting conscious, start controlling his music, and also helping
others
and in the Nation of Islam,
yes,
etc. All of a sudden, he was tortured and killed, and even fingernails pulled out. And they said that he was getting in some kind of argument with some small woman at a hotel who had shot him. Yeah, and he was fractured face bones and everything, broken hands. He was tortured. Otis Redding starting to get control of his music, so his plane goes down.
And the Barcades.
Who else? Let me see. We ain't gonna tell you about Mike, though. There's some things there that people are gonna find out later. But nevertheless, same thing with him. And our people haven't paid attention to any of that. Point that I'm making is that the hybrids do not want the people to figure out, and is being exposed, that number one, they are hybrids, and some of them ain't human, and that these people are under occupation. They're not suffering racism. That's a cover-up argument. That's why they never mention Carlos Linnaeus and the phenotype operations, and Frederick Blumenbach, etc. And the operations and all this stuff started in the 1700s with them during the time of Napoleonic Wars, etc. And they were reconstructing society, and so people are
shooting the noses off of statues.
Yes. Again, and even learning and not wanting the people to know that pyramids in Hikupta in Egypt are 3 times older than what they've been telling the people, and then some. And also that we've got pyramid structures all over the Western Hemisphere, more numerous than they are on the other side, and some of them older. So and also the technologies of the ancient world that are, some of which they've figured out a little bit, that are being used currently. And basically this is back to really what's going on right now. So all these systems of so-called security that they built these people up with to make them dedicate their lives to work their life and think that they're going to retire, They never intended for them to retire. They intended to get them to a point and then kill them off.
Even right now.
No,
So
it's what's going on. That was always the plan.
no, Jeremy L. Malik Bay says, could you explain in the best syntax what will this collapse look like to the average person when it really does?
This is what it'll look like. It will look like basically this, what we've been telling people. Whatever your concept of gods that you've been claiming, anyone, me, you, anyone else, no one's exempt. This is your grand opportunity to prove it. Whatever intelligence that you have, divine or otherwise, here's your opportunity to prove it. Those of you who are jumpers who claimed you've been jumpers, etc., and talking about your spiritual and your psychic and everything, stop now, prove it. Because guess what? You're going to need it and a bag of chips in the soda pop.
So I'm assuming he is asking from a standpoint, will there be mass hysteria? Will there be looting?
The rioting and stuff is a cover up for what's going to be happening. It's already going on. It's already,
so they're getting
it's already begun.
Okay.
Intelligence.
So people need to bear
This is a
arms to
suggestion.
protect their property. And
It ain't going to help you. Not that it ain't going to help you. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real, Dr. Naila. Number one, remember when they were so-called rioting in Baltimore area after they murdered their brother, Freddie Gray?
Oh yeah. Okay.
There was another sacrifice. Do you notice how people didn't pay attention how they dispersed the crowds? They don't even know that they were using sound wave and microwave technology.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
either.
hold on. When I was young and they were training me without telling me, the so-called special forces and stuff like that, right? Which is why when I got in fights when I was in the service, I always got Article 29s. I never went to the break. I used to use a weapon that shoot through trees. Like you hide behind a tree and think that you're safe. Well, you're not. Now that's then. And at that time I was like 18 or 19. People have no idea that the weapons that have been afforded to the people are obsolete. That the weapons that they don't know about, they don't have a chance. That's not to discourage people from defending themselves. I'm telling you what I already know personally, not what I don't know that I'm admitting that I don't know. I'm telling you what I know. I was 18 because I was expert with weapons. I had a weapon, and it's not including the M79, looked like a short shotgun. Now the shell bullet that looked like that. And you didn't shoot it like this, you shot it like this. And take a tank out. My question and statement to you, what do you think you're going to do with an AR-15 or M16, 15, 16, 17, whatever? They have heat-seeking bullets. They have some that split, some that curve, that the public never gets. Do you think that you're going to go to the person who manufactures these weapons and he's going to give you weapons to compete with him? I mean, use your intelligence. Now, we're not talking about immediate defense in your everyday affairs. You have a right to that. But if you think for 1 minute that you got any kind of weapons that's going to compete with the hybrid operatives, unless some of you, because I'm not saying that some of you aren't jumpers, because I know some of you are. But I also know that most of you are not. And so I also know that most of you can't step over anyway. So why would we turn around and give or imply to our people who we're trying to help to take a position when we know they can't win? My position with you is this. You say you're spiritual, prove it. You say you're dimensional, no problem. Prove it, because that's where your weaponry is. Your weaponry is in the higher state of mind. You're dealing with forces and powers that most of these people have no comprehension of what's against them. However, I will say this with a surety. Sincerity, key. Unselfishness, key. Honorable intentions and will. I could probably go further, but I'm staying safe. Mm-hmm. Those are tools. If you'll take them and use them, there's other defenses that will come to you.
If you meditate, and it will start to.
Because guess what? No, because if you're there, you don't need to meditate, because it is who you are. It's almost like,
I mean, if it's something that they're not doing.
I'm not really disagreeing with what you're saying right now. It's a cognizance that I'm really trying to respond to. But
there's I know I kind of feel what you're going to say, but there are some people who just have not been.
I know that. That's why I don't say certain things.
They've been, caught up in religious dogma and all of these things. They've been
which
caught
is
up in
a dead weight.
Right. They've been caught up in external salvation, and that they somehow were going to be saved from everything, caught up, taken out of the way, whatever.
They will be sacrificed. Let's cut to the chase. They will be sacrificed. Let's cut. However, what
because I always say,
I try not to go there.
The rapture will be a capture.
Because this the real deal. People don't know the power that they have.
They individually.
Yeah. Now, however, it's sort of like trying to get people to look at things, in with an eye of honor, with an eye of unselfishness, with an eye of good intent. But half of them don't believe that that's armor. And again, that's what I have to say about that. And if I try to press it further than that, I will be getting into a dishonest position.
I'm Appendix G. I just opened the book, page 313, Neotech. Those who live by producing values, no matter how much false power neo-cheaters gain by attacking the producer and usurping values, they never can escape a fact they all want to deny. Honest, productive effort is the act of living. You just said that.
Because it really is.
Thus, productive effort is the only source of genuine power, honest prosperity, and abiding happiness.
Yes. And you can't, if people see, and this is Dr. Naila, it's sort of like if people kind of, and I don't, I'm not trying to judge. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. But if people haven't arrived to that, and if you can't get them to trust themselves or to look within and find that honestly, not with trying to gain some retirement fund, trying to gain some material thing, just be honestly real. That is the armor. But guess what? How many people don't believe that? So the sacrifice will be a willing sacrifice. Whosoever will, let them come. Whosoever will, let them hear. Whosoever will, let them be. But people will still take that as some kind of spooky statement. Do you understand? And I don't really want to go there. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I will say, take responsibility. Be honorable. Want for others what you want for yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And severely and sincerely, don't be selfish. Nature comes to your aid. And if you don't believe that, I have nothing more to say.
If there are any more comments, questions, let me see. All right. I'm looking to see what. I do not believe the honorable judges will bear looking for just yet. You're right. How do we operate, Trey Bay? How do we operate our professional businesses lawfully after making the proclamation and give notice without the 14th Amendment?
Without. Now, that's number one. Well, the without is saying, which is proper, you can't serve two masters and you can't be on two platforms. And this is the point. When our illustrious prophet, Noble Drawley, told us to enforce the Constitution for the United States, right? Mm-hmm. If people don't know African culture, they'll look at that one-dimensional. They'll look at it as the precepts that are structured in the Constitution for the United States and not look at that conjoined with the constitutional man principles of the Gnostic wisdom and the Sufi principles that are at the foundation of all religion, which is your Constitution. The knowledge of your relationship to the womb of your mother and how she made you and what she made you of, in harmony with the cosmology of nature, the what we like to refer to loosely as the planetary positions. The astronomy of the astrology, the positions of the planets, the elements that you use to build your temple or of the soul of man, etc. That is the Constitution. So when you're enforcing the Constitution, you're enforcing the traditions and customs, because the documents are only what you call civil level abstracts of the traditional cosmological constitutions of your customs and traditions of the customs and culture of Asia, Africa, the foundation of life.
But if we had a business that was, we went by whatever the.
As soon as you're saying business, you're saying trade.
Okay, so
trade. Now you're back on. Now here we go back.
Trade not what we have done.
Now that is secured by treaty and constitution. Here we're back to that.
So how should one operate?
Now, isn't this why we've been trying to get people to come together to recognize what nationality is, how it functions on the political platform? The venues that relate to it are called consular. It's diversity. The diversity is where that distinction line is made. That's how nations communicate with each other. That is the venue. But you know, and I know how much negative criticism that has been put out there in relationship to the consular position when that's Article 3, Section 2 of that Constitution for international trade and controversy.
So we should be an international entity.
That's what it is.
Okay.
See, this is the whole point. They keep treating the established law as if it's alien, as if it's an intrusion, and as if someone who brings it up, like conscious Moors, like they're out of order, rather than charging the criminals with treason. And the fact that they keep asking us to justify the truth, and some to apologize for telling the truth. Oh, explain yourself. You're attempting to exercise the right. Explain yourself.
Well,
meaning that if you enforce the law, that is the platform the platform for doing business is called international law platforms. In you're doing international trade. The Constitution for the United States is an international document.
Well, here's another question. They said they asked a seer, I guess, dignitaries to help ADOS, that all caps ADOS. I don't know if that's something that, I don't know. I've seen that before. I'm not sure what it
See,
means.
if they present any acronyms, tell the people what the acronyms is.
Please tell us.
No, tell the people what the acronyms
tell
are.
us what the ADOS stands for, because you're asking me to ask Grand Sheik.
Because the people must know.
He said he wouldn't help them because they are not worthy. I would have asked the Grand Sheik first, but I was nervous on contacting him. Now he's live. I'm asking now, which is what? To help the ADOS. What is that? American, what is that?
Again,
yeah, you have to tell us.
Because one thing everybody knows about me, I'm transparent.
Yeah, tell us what we're not gonna. American descendants. Oh, okay. ADOS means American descendants of slavery. That's right. Moors ain't that. We're not that. That's why he wouldn't. That's why Asir wouldn't help, because
of course because you're buying into a fraud.
Right. It's not.
It's a fraud. It's a diversion, just like Black Lives Matter. It sounds like it's for you when it's designed to bury you.
Right.
Now, when you're conscious, you recognize it, and when you can read, and this is back to the seriousness of our people being able to read, and it's also the seriousness. Whereas our people need to understand when they're being guided or misguided by outside infiltrated forces that will present platforms that appear to be helpful when they're designed to rebury you. Moors are not slaves. Slave is Slovakian. It's an identity, not a status. Connotatively, it's presented as a status, but it has nothing to do with Moors. Moors have been bound freemen. They're not slaves.
Earlier on, somebody wanted to know who's the white man.
White man is a legal status that actually relates to the sovereign of the land and the ruler of the land, having nothing to do with complexion. Which is why in 1854, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the convention of the Whigamore parties, members of the conscience Whigs who were breaking off from the cotton Whigs with disputes they were having among each other chose to claim the estates of the Moors and thus claim to be white people. Because by law, that the hybrid Europeans could not be free white people. That's a fact. It's a law status. Has nothing to do with complexion of skin.
So Jaleel Hughes says, how do we use the consular courts to reestablish trade routes?
Now, this is back to organization. Now, so if you, me, or anyone else come back on, like when Drew Ali say, help me in my great missionary work to bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government. Well, constitutions are the platforms on an international basis on how international trade and business is done. The enforcement of it is the securing and the protection of it. They keep looking for these things outside of those principles, which is what the problem is. Do you see the point?
I see.
So it's sort of like, and this is back to where people ask you for what you've already given them, which means they're not studying the principles or they don't have cognate faith in them. Do you understand? If you ask people about Social Security retirement program, they put all their strength, their power, their investment in it. Talk about Constitution and treaty, they keep dismissing it as someone's interesting idea. That's the platform. That is the platform.
Okay. I don't know what about them. Okay. Somebody saying, what about the Cherokee freedman? Isn't that the same as what? Not sure what they mean.
Cherokee. So you're talking Anayanwea. So what about the Anayanwea? So the question, they asked them to type back. My question in response to that for qualification. So tell me, in response, what about the Aniyanwia?
Okay. Well, hopefully they'll
Aniyanwia.
Here's a question while they're maybe responding. Lataj, can you explain the esoteric meaning of being an Aquarius? I would say Aquarian in the Aquarius in the Aquarian age. I, like you, are one as well, beloved.
Well, you have the problem that we all have, and that is trying to stay grounded enough for people to accept us, so we won't seem to be absolutely out to lunch. Because we are a little bit, what you call, eccentric.
To see things in another way. Trey Bay said, what contracts do we set forth through the consulate to establish international organizations?
It's already established. It's called coming back onto the platform. So what you see taking place today in the political realm, the hybrid Europeans are by force of arms trying to continue to make themselves relevant while the world is starting to dismiss them. I say to you and to us, pay attention to every detail, etc., and prepare yourself to take, control and cognizance of your own affairs by studying those things necessary to make our people better nationals in their own political jurisdiction. But the platforms already exist. And so what you see going on right now, the hybrid Europeans are trying to spoil the platforms because they already know that they're losing power. Platforms already exist. Now you're talking about back to what we talked about when we did the last session, Dr. Naila, understanding jurisdiction. Okay. So go back over those issues. And also to help family members who might want to examine the question that you just asked. Again, this is why we tell people as an interim, as a point of reference for study, but not limited to that, is to look at House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session, June the 5th of 1933, and then also look at speeches that were made on the floor of the Congress relative to the U.S. bankruptcy and one particular representative called James Traficant, and then analyze things that he said and do some research into those areas, particularly when he talks about the hypothecation and he's talking about the conversion of allodial titles into mortgages and deeds of 1913, and not just the things that are talked about in books that are one of the books that most of the people read called Jekyll Island issue, etc. You notice that they don't talk about the conversion of estates. They keep talking about the gold and silver issue. And at the same time, they still don't tell the people that the United States is a trading corporation. They still imply that it is a nation state when in fact it is not. So this is back to what we talked about earlier, Dr. Naila, where they're telling some truths, but they don't tell all the truth because they still are trying to control our estate.
Grand Sheik, can Grand Sheik elaborate on the Treasury? This is from Nicola Stephan. Can Grand Sheik elaborate on the Treasury threatening to assume control of the United States Postal Service for credit, debt, and its consequences upon living men and women if that should happen?
All right. Well, guess what? They're going to do it anyway. They've already integrated the Federal Reserve, who were delicensed a year and a half ago, into the U.S. Treasury. This is a battle that you're seeing that's going to come more and more open to the public as to why they've already tried to assassinate Donald Trump. I think it's 26 times already. You won't see that in the mainstream news. And also, whereas the so-called stimuluses that he's doing is really because they're ramming the private commercial paper into the ground. However, I also say take it with a grain of salt, etc., because they're still arguing over our estate. So when you're looking at things in that area, keep that in mind as an ongoing operation presently, and analyze that and see what you get out of it.
From the standpoint of the Postal Service, though?
Because because now you're getting back to the issue where people are looking at the Postal Service as superseding the other political jurisdictional venues of the United States and being so-called the legitimate operations under the United States.
What about with like the Postmaster General? Wasn't that supposed to be
the whole thing? But remember, they sold that private too. That's part of the operations. It's all corrupt. It's all corrupt.
So there is no legitimate.
The people must take the government back. They've got, we keep looking for them to do what they're supposed to do. They're de facto. When we opened up, Dr. Naila, and I've said this constantly, and I'm saying this now, the questions are legitimate, but can you see the nature of the people having not yet accepted or understanding what de facto is? And they keep looking for de facto platforms to fix something, and it's not going to come from them. It's going to come from the people. If the people want their liberties back, they are going to have to recognize their birthright. That's where the cure is. It will be in nothing that the hybrid European controls. Nothing. Not one thing. If they're involved in it, it's contaminated. If they've touched it, it is dead in law. Not opinion, it's fact.
Ellie Fancier responded about the other question. They were asking if the Cherokee freedmen are Moors.
Of course, Cherokees Anayanwea. Most of us are Anayanwea. My family's Anayanwea.
The real ones, right?
Well, yeah, because Cherokees is just a corruption. Just like Choctaw simply means chocolate people. Our people really need to know that this ain't India.
I don't know about that.
We're called Indians, but this ain't India.
Okay. So your dead grandpa wants up. What a name. Okay. How do we challenge government jurisdiction over the land, or did I?
By challenging yourself, starting with challenging everything that you used to believe. Start dumping things and rendering under the Caesar, the Romans, what's theirs. That's how you do it. We got. Let's kind of add to that. It's difficult. I comprehend. We have to stop supporting the agencies and institutions that were never there to help you. They were only there to bleed you. You've got to pull the straws out your neck. Stop calling them necklaces and decoration. They're not jewelry. Your relationships to the hybrid Europeans are based on parasiticism, not based on public service. So bring out your best minds, bring out your true spirituality, and start exercising it. That is your cure. It will not be from them. It's not in them to do right.
Here's a question. Okay.
John 8:44.
Next question. Islam Grand Sheikh and Dr. G. Question. Can you speak to those who may not know how to locate more science physicians, in parentheses, doctors, around the area they domicile instead of trusting European solutions?
Now, good. This is the answer. And back to what is commonly said. Collectively, as a people, we've been constantly funding institutions that has been claiming the gods of the heavens and the earth, the powers that they possess, the prophets that they have sent, what they're going to do, what they're not going to do, how to interpret the Vedas, how to interpret the Quran, how to interpret the Bible. Certainly something as mundane as earth operations, we should be able to handle that, shouldn't we?
Yep.
So if we have made the claims of knowing gods and loving gods who we do not see, then certainly we can love and comprehend the rules of law that governs our brothers and our sisters by the day. Therefore, if we can talk about the constitutions of the heavens, certainly we can talk about the constitutions of the earth. So how dare us claim the love of God we do not see, and love not our brothers and sisters whom we see by the day. So it is, the common law rides those same tracks. So let us get on track.
Thank you very much. Let me see what else is coming up here. Let me go back to here. I am appreciative of all right. Questions. Government, not your adversary. Red Mars. Person was in a peace. Benjamin Franklin. Bridge says Benjamin Franklin is on the record admitting that the black race is the largest nation on the planet. He also admitted blacks were in Europe when they arrived. Someone was asking a question about explaining how there are only 7 days in a year. Can you ask Brother Taj, Devin Dodson, how is it 7 days in a year according to science?
Easily, according to science, name them. Just say it. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Are there any more?
That's it.
It just cycles. So now let's go back to more science. He says Moors measure time in cycle ages. So if a cycle is a circle, so how many days are on the circle?
7.
You see?
Circle 7.
There you go.
Circle 7.
Meaning that use your common sense and get back in harmony with nature.
Okay. I know someone didn't get attorney question. Can you speak to those? He did that. Gosh, he asked the question 3 times. Okay. There's a lot of 7:30 sleepy-headed Moors versus the true woke Moors. I don't know what that means. Someone wants to know, can you nationalize your child? If so, what's the process?
The condition of the mother is the condition of the child. Redeem the mother and you can redeem the nation. Like Durali said, I've given you more than enough to save yourselves. Now go out and redeem your people.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I could just get you all thinking again, you'd save yourselves.
You can respond. We know that this is cool. House of Awakening Minds. Do we have schools for our Moorish children? Am not registering my child into this B system. Let us know if online.
Again, yes.
Grand Sheik is still
yes.
She's
been having on for about 7 years now, more.
I would put it,
so yes.
What is the? I can put it down there.
So Grand Sheik is Daria Bay.
Right. Let me see.
And more school for children.
That's what it's called.
Yes. And I think we have flyers around here because we passed them out before.
Well, I don't have them here at the house.
So go on the website and look up Grand Sheik's Daria Bay. That's a double R, Daria Bay. Burryyah. Yes.
Bay. School for Moorish children.
Yep. Yeah. Online school. And keep in mind, when you deal with the hybrids, when they talk about the General Education Board that dumbed our children down in the first place, notice that the founders are John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates. And don't think that the other Gates, his descendant, aren't trying to poison your children with needles, because they absolutely are.
Yeah, I'll set Atlanta's big. Yeah, the school is an online school, and it's been operating for about the last 7 years, and now is the perfect time to.
You daggone right.
Yeah,
You better.
Yeah, we only have yeah.
Stop sacrificing your babies.
Yeah.
And those of you already know here, what we've been trying to do is trying to get things done here at the House of Reawakening Minds, and we've been sacrificing both time and labor. And Brother Abdullah and Brother Shem and Sister Tamara have been working hard to try to set up the operations of the consulate at 602, inclusive of the House of Reawakening Minds. There are 2 venues operating at the building, so make sure that you support the house, because the house has been supporting you.
We have about 1,400 people online.
Yes.
I want to thank the 5 people who have. There have been 5 people who have said while we were on have given us the donation. 5 or 6.
Much appreciated.
But there's like 1,400 people online. So
yes.
If they sent $1, the ones that we appreciate you. We don't beg, but we do appreciate you.
The reality, while the transitions are being made, we still have to operate because we're limited. We're limited because we're still under occupation. But while the transition is being made, and also contact Dr. Naila, and I'm going to suggest to you, and you're going to know it very soon, because pretty soon you're not going to be able to get these. Yeah. And it's going to be more difficult as you're trying to get them even now.
It's going to be more expensive. It's going up $10 last month.
This is why I see. Let me say something to you honestly.
10 notes a month.
One of the reasons why you don't see me talking about it all the time is because I understand telegraphing punches. Because I know when I say something that immediately the priesthood is going to come after me and then go after people. That's why you don't see me talking. I hope that they listen to you and try to save themselves and their families. And even then it's not going to be enough, because I already knew that was going to happen. This is why but if I say an alarm, and as soon as they go out there, making waves, in short order, they're not going to get anything. I would prefer that they use intelligence and recognize that our intentions have always been for the good of the people, and to be self-motivated to act, if you get the point.
And I do. I appreciate it, because I appreciate that you kept saying to do this. And I was so grateful when the opportunity came around. The book that I've been talking about, Neotech, I'm looking on Amazon right now. It's one that popped up. Somebody's selling one for $186.96. But
like I told you, order my other ones.
I already ordered yours while we were doing the live. I see where someone's selling one for as little as $39.99.
Get it.
$34.99.
Order it.
There's 7 that are available starting at $34.95. There's 2, one for $34, one for $39, one that goes up to $50, $55, $59, $186, $181, $186, $183. So
listeners of the house,
get the book.
Get them all now while you can,
get
because
the ones you can afford.
Yes, it's the knowledge that's important. And keep in mind, because I don't like to do the alarm thing. You already know that.
Right.
I just hope that people are listening, because if I could have gotten people to listen to some of these things 25 years ago, we'd be so much further ahead.
Yeah.
However, because you got to remember that the hybrids already know what we're doing and know why. There's nothing that we do from an organizational position that they don't infiltrate as an normal order of operations. Knowing how they operate, use your best mind, be honorable, and be active, be proactive. Try to get out of the habit of being reactive, because you lose. You do. And I don't like to play the alarm game, but the people are in more trouble than they really even imagine that they are. Hopefully that some of the things that we've been telling them, that they're really going to be self-inspired to be active. to
Can you
study.
hold this book up? People are asking about the book.
This is the book, Neotech.
Yeah.
Is
A
it
little
clear?
higher. Ooh. Yeah, there you go. Neotech. Frank.
Do I need to put it closer?
They like no. Go back. Back up. There, they can see it. Neotech. Let's see how thick it is. Yeah, it's a thick book. Neotech. Frank R. Wallace. I think you see it. Okay. So there we go. You want to get that book.
Now remember, and this is one of the things that they always do, because while you think they're silent, they watch us and they always plot on how to counter us. And this is people on our side as well as the hybrid Europeans. Whenever we try to wake the people up, understand that they're going to attack. Understand that's normal operations. And for those who are listening here tonight at the House of Reawakening Minds, if you intend to get this book, whatever's available, get it now, because I'm telling you, as soon as this gets out, they're going to be out there jumping, trying to make it non-available. I'm telling you how they're going to do. So don't say that we didn't tell you. We can't make you act. We just trust that you love yourself enough to act. And you know, our people invest fortunes into sneakers, but they just don't believe in books anymore. However, we're encouraging you to go ahead and start taking care of your responsibilities.
Yeah, we thank you so much. We thank you for those who support us and tune in regularly. Tune in to Office Hours with Dr. G on Tuesday. And ironically, Grand Sheik, my guest, is going to be an expat that domiciles in China and is bridging the gap between China for more around the globe and China to be able to do imports. So he's changing.
We need the paradigm.
And so he's going to be my guest on Tuesday. And he's also, he does it through a lot of things, through fashion and so forth. But he speaks fluent Chinese and writes and reads fluent Chinese as well as Moorish Latin and English. So he's going to be my guest on Tuesday.